Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, March 20th. Well, astronomical spring begins later today, and quite an interesting first day of spring here. We have a total solar eclipse that will be visible actually by very few people, as the visible path for that solar eclipse will be confined to the North Atlantic Ocean. Also, there's a new supermoon, again not visible since it's a new phase of the supermoon, but accumulating snow as well here throughout much of the Mid-Atlantic region on the first day of spring. Again, spring officially begins later in the day, but there will be heavy wet snow in portions of the Mid-Atlantic region as the day progresses. Some big wet snowflakes that will cling to the trees and accumulate especially on grassy surfaces. This time of the year, of course, the sun has a big impact even on a cloudy day. So it should have much more trouble accumulating on the roadways as compared to grassy surfaces. And as is typical with March snowstorms, elevation plays a big role. So the most accumulation should occur on grassy surfaces, on the elevated surfaces to the north and west of the big cities. Let's start off by looking at the latest radar loop from AccuWeather.com. The blues here represent snow. Began as a mixture in the DC metro region here as some rain and snow, but then that quickly kind of changed to snow. There's some big snowflakes falling over the last hour, even down into the Arlington, Virginia area. Some heavy snow being reported. Last hour, BWI still snowing out of Dulles, and some accumulations already have occurred in places like Frederick, Maryland, Rockville, Maryland, up that way. They will change over to rain as the day progresses, probably during the midday hours. The snow will turn over to rain, but there certainly will be some accumulations before that changeover. And again, more snow to the north and west of the district. In Philadelphia, the snow began right around daybreak, and it's picking up in intensity right now. For the most part, in the northern and western suburbs of Philadelphia, this should remain as a snow event, perhaps 3 to 6 inches in the northern and western suburbs, 2 to 4 inches in Philly and points to the south and east. Again, north and east of the Mason-Dixon line, this will remain primarily a snow event, and the snow can come down heavily at times. Basically a 3 to 6 inch snowfall expected in and around the New York City region, with primarily snow up in that area as well. Well, I want to start off the discussion here with an interesting map that is produced by a high-resolution model called the HRRR. This is actually the forecast of the precipitation type at 11 a.m. this morning. This is posted right now at the Washington Post Capital Weather Gang site. The map itself is produced at weatherbell.com. Notice the snow line here still way down in Delaware and cutting across the D.C. area at 11 a.m. Again, this is a couple hours away from now. All snow north of the Mason-Dixon line, varying intensity. There will be some slackening of the snowfall over the next couple of hours, then it picks up in intensity, but there can be some heavy wet snowflakes along the way, all the way from D.C. up across Philadelphia and New York City. Again, this is the forecast map by precipitation type for 11 a.m. So still some accumulating snow in the D.C. metro region all the way through much of the morning hours. By midday, it starts to change over to sleet and then rain. Certainly by the afternoon, it should be primarily a rain event in the Washington, D.C. area, but there will be accumulations before that happens. Primarily snow here in the Philadelphia metro region throughout the next several hours. And again, the suburbs, especially western Chester County, upper Bucks and Montgomery County, can get 3, 4, 5, perhaps even 6 inches of snow. A general 3 to 6 inch snowfall expected in and around the New York City metro region. Well, let's take a look at last night's Zero-Z GFS model run, the global forecast system that NOAA produces. We'll look at 3-hour increments beginning with 11 a.m., go all the way to 11 p.m. That's basically the duration of the storm. It does go into the evening hours in many parts of the I-95 corridor. This blue line right here represents kind of the freezing line in the lower part of the atmosphere. At 11 a.m., it's just then cutting through to the north of the DC metro region. Again, there can be snow continuing all the way up until the midday hours in the DC metro region. Should still be in the form of snow during the midday hours in and north of the Mason-Dixon line. Notice high pressure moving off the east coast. That allows a low-level flow of air out of the east, and that does promote a little bit of warming here. That rain-snow line will be gradually moving to the north over the next several hours. Now here's the forecast map 3 hours later for 2 p.m. this afternoon. Low pressure starting to show up here by the GFS model at the North Carolina coastline right over the Outer Banks. High pressure still sliding off the northeast coastline. Precipitation intensifies during the midday in Philadelphia and New York City and continues heavy at times in the afternoon. That freezing line still south basically of the right along the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. South of there, probably a changeover to rain by this time. North of there, primarily in the form of snow. Let's now jump ahead another 3 hours. This is the forecast map for 5 p.m. this afternoon. Notice that blue line here kind of stops in its tracks as it moves to the north, reaching again not much farther north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. So primarily a snow event here in New York City and the suburbs of Philadelphia. Philadelphia itself and points just to the south and east certainly can mix with or even change over to sleet and rain later on the day, but primarily a snow event in the northern and western suburbs of Philly and across interior New Jersey, across the New York City region here. The precipitation starting to lighten up here across D.C. Let's now jump ahead another 3 hours. And here's the forecast map for 8 p.m. tonight. Notice here, intensifying low pressure now off the mid-Atlantic coastline. That kind of a rain-snow line never makes it far north of Philadelphia, cutting across the Maryland, Pennsylvania border region, maybe the Delaware River here. And notice now also a little bit of a comma-shaped pattern starting to develop as this storm intensifies. A comma-shaped pattern to the precipitation. Most likely some decent snow falling at this time, even into the latter part of the evening, up across interior Pennsylvania, interior New Jersey, New York City region. Let's now jump ahead another 3 hours. And here's the forecast map for 11 p.m. and by this time starting to finally lighten up, but again there can be some snow or perhaps even freezing drizzle at this time in the Philly and New York City metro region. Should be over with across the DC metro region. This type of situation, when it's a close call between rain or snow, when the precipitation lightens up from snow, it certainly can end as a period of freezing drizzle. As the upward motion in the atmosphere weakens, it tends to change from snow and perhaps taper off as freezing drizzle. That can be the case this evening in southeastern Pennsylvania, across portions of New Jersey, in and across New York City. Low pressure by this time moving off the mid-Atlantic coastline. So this will be an accumulating snow event for a good part of the I-95 corridor, despite the fact that astronomical spring begins later today. That's it for now. For VencoreWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.